Death of a Unicorn's final scene raises some big questions about the final fate of the film's main characters. Death of a Unicorn largely focuses on the titular fantastical creatures. After one of them is struck and seemingly killed by a pair of humans on their way to a remote mansion in the forest, the unicorns go on a rampage to find the baby and restore it with their magic. Ironically, the two people who hit the animal actually bond with the creatures. This leads to Death of a Unicorn's ending, where they restore a dead Elliot alongside their baby. It's a sweet moment that's then subverted when the police arrive on the scene and promptly arrest Elliot and Ridley. This sets up the final moments of the movie, which end on a slightly ambiguous note as the unicorns seem to try and help their newfound friends through a perfectly brutal method. While it's a fun way to close out the film, this ambiguous nature of Death of a Unicorn's finale left some audiences wondering what happened to Elliot, Ridley, and even the nearby Griff. Death of a Unicorn ends on a purposefully ambiguous note. Death of a Unicorn closes on the creatures attacking the cop car. Death of a Unicorn ending explained why the unicorns do that custom image by Yaelin Chacon. Death of a Unicorn's ending is a purposefully ambiguous beat that leaves the fates of Ridley, Elliot, Griff, and the unicorns a mystery to the audience. After surviving the unicorn rampage across the Leopold compound, Ridley and Elliot are left in an awkward position when Griff returns with the police. The pair are arrested, but the film teases that Elliot's legal skills will exonerate them from any crimes. However, while they are in the back of the police car, they notice that they are actually being followed by the trio of unicorns that they encountered, and helped ensure remained free. One of the unicorns briefly matches Elliot's gaze, giving him a silent warning in time for Ridley and Elliot to prepare themselves. The movie ends with the unicorns attacking the car and forcing it off the road, a sudden and final burst of action and violence, after a movie full of some gruesomely gory kills. After a movie of the unicorns operating of their own accord and with little in the way of restraint, it's a fitting way for Death of a Unicorn to end. However, the film cuts away before it can reveal the full fate of the characters. What Death of a Unicorn's director has said about the final scene and cliffhanger ending. Death of a Unicorn's director believes Elliot, Ridley, and Griff survived the climax of the film. Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega looking scared in Death of a Unicorn interview head a custom image by Anna Nieves. While the unicorns had seemingly embraced Ridley and Elliot because of the cosmic connection they shared with them, their otherwise ruthless approach to humans means the possibility remained that they simply killed the surviving characters off-screen. However, while the ambiguity was purposeful on the part of director-writer Alex Schaffman, the story is also meant to heavily imply that Elliot and Ridley will be fine. Schaffman even believes that Griff, who didn't form such a bond with the unicorns, ultimately survives his final encounter with the creatures. During an interview with Screen Rant, Schaffman confirmed that because of their newfound bond, Elliot and Ridley have an ongoing, permanent connection to the unicorns. According to Schaffman, the ambiguity and brutality were meant to reflect the animal nature of the creatures, but their efforts are intended to help Elliot and Ridley. Schaffman explained their motivation in that scene was that they're kind of like, yeah, okay, great. Elliot and Ridley are being held captive, we'll smash the car and see what happens. But certainly, not necessarily understanding the social implications of the escape or the mechanical elements. Does Death of a Unicorn set up a sequel? Elliot and Ridley's story is done. The ending of Death of a Unicorn being somewhat open-ended instantly raises the question of whether or not it's leaving the door open for a sequel. However, Death of a Unicorn doesn't really do that. The actual emotional arc of the film between Ridley and Elliot is resolved by the end of the story, and their father-daughter relationship is repaired by their shared experience of seeing the full cosmic scope of the universe. Even though Riley, Elliot, and Griff's fates remain unknown after the film, their storylines are resolved. As such, there's no need to continue their story. Even though the exact final fates of the main characters aren't shown, it's easy to assume that they'll return to their lives with a better sense of themselves. It's also a good brutal reminder that the unicorns can't be held back, even by their nominal loyalty to certain people. It's a fittingly harsh finale for a movie where unicorns rip people asunder and gore them with their horns, highlighting how even when they're helping, these unicorns are dangerous. However, it's nice to have clarity from Death of a Unicorn's director and the assurance that the film's heroes survived the story.